Hey Math 7, it's Miss Barb, and today we're going to go over the study guide SOL 7.1 on absolute value. So we're going to fill in the blank. Number 1, the absolute value of a number is going to be the distance from 0 on the number line. Number 2, circle the correct answer. Absolute value is A, sometimes negative, B, always negative, C, always positive, or D, maybe positive or negative. We know that absolute value is always going to be positive, so we're going to circle C. Number 3, draw the symbol for absolute value. We know that symbol is going to be those vertical brackets or vertical lines. All right, and if you want to pause so you can fill this in, I'm going to erase it. Okay, and I'm going to scroll so you can see number 4. All right, determine the absolute value of a rational number. Number 4, blank equals absolute value of 3/4. We know that that is going to be 3/4. And number 5, the absolute value of -1/4. We know that the absolute value always makes that a positive number, so it's going to be +1/4. And number 6, blank equals the absolute value of 6. We know that that's going to be 6. And number 7, 8 equals absolute value equals absolute value. We know that can either be a -8 or a +8, and it'll still equal 8 with the absolute value. And number 8, the absolute value of -12/3. We know that since it's in the absolute value brackets, that number is going to be a positive. So it's going to be 12/3, but we can reduce that, and it's just going to be 4 because 12 divided by 3 is 4. And number 9, negative absolute value of 9.5. So since that negative symbol is outside of those absolute value brackets, we're going to carry that negative symbol over, and we're going to write 9.5. So it's going to equal -9.5. All right, and number 10 says circle all numbers that have an absolute value of 5. So absolute value of 5, we know that negative numbers are going to have an absolute value of +5. So we can circle -5 because that -5 will be in the absolute value brackets. So it'll make it a positive. And 0 is not 5. So therefore, that's not going to be an answer. We know that 5/1 is going to equal 5. So therefore, that can be an absolute value of 5. So we're going to circle that one. -1/5. Well, that's not the same thing as 5, so we're not going to circle that one. And we know 15/3. You reduce that, it is going to equal 5. So we know that that has an absolute value of 5, so we're going to go and circle that. And -5.00. So if that number is in the absolute value brackets, we know that that will also have an absolute value of +5, so we're going to circle that. All right, number 11, circle each true statement. So absolute value of -8 equals the absolute value of 8. We know that since it's in the absolute value, it's going to be 8 and 8. So therefore, that is equal. So we will circle that one. Absolute value of 9.5 equals -9.5. We know that after it's on those brackets, it's going to be a positive number. So 9.5 is not the same as -9.5. And then 3.7 equals the absolute value of negative 3.7. We do that, and that is going to be equal. So therefore they are the same, and we're going to circle that one. Absolute value of negative 2.8 equals negative 2.8. We know that in the brackets, it's going to be a positive number. So it'll be a positive 2.8 equals a negative 2.8, and that's not a true statement. Negative 5 equals the absolute value of negative 5. We know that that's not true, because then it will be negative 5 equals 5. And that's not a true statement, so we're not going to circle that one. And then 2 equals negative, absolute value of negative 2. We know that that will be 2, and that's right, and that's a true statement, so we will circle that. Right, so you should have the first one, negative, absolute value of negative 8 equals absolute value of 8 circled. The third one over, and that's 3.7 equals the absolute value of negative 3.7. And then directly underneath should have circled 2 equals absolute value of negative 2. All right, so I'm going to clear this. And we can move on to the next part. Okay, number 12. Graph all points in the number line with an absolute value of 12 over 2. Don't forget to write appropriate numbers below each dash in the number line. Okay, we know if we simplify 12 over 2, that's going to equal 6. I'm writing 6 there. All right, and then in the center, don't forget your 0. I'm going to put my 0 in the center there. And then we're going up to 6. So we'll put 6 on the far, and then directly in between 0 and 6 is 3. So I'll put my 3 there. Now I'm going to do the same on the left side. So negative 3, negative 6. And I need the absolute value of 6. So we know that 6 is going to be a point, and we know that negative 6 is going to be a point, because it's the same distance from 0. So 6 points and 6 points. Okay, number 13. Graph all points in the number line with an absolute value of 1/4. Don't forget to write appropriate numbers below each dash on the line. So I'm going to put 0 in the center there. And I'm just, for my reference, I'm going to add 2 more lines on the right and 2 more lines to the left, since it's to 1/4. So 1/4, 2 fourths, 3 fourths, and 4 fourths. And then the same on the left side, negative 1/4, negative 2 fourths, negative 3 fourths, and negative 4 over 4. All right, so I'm going to plot my points. So I'm going to put 1/4. I know that negative 1/4 will be the same distance from 0, so I'm going to mark that one as well. Number 14. Using the number line to justify your answer, what is the absolute value of 7.5? Okay, so I'm going to put my 0 in there. Absolute value of 7.5 will be 7.5. And you can also have negative 7.5 because it's the same distance from 0. So 7.5 and 7.5. All right. I'm going to give you guys a minute to write that down, and I'm going to erase and scroll down to number 15. All right. At 6 a.m., the temperature was 7 degrees below 0. By noon, the temperature was 20 degrees. How many degrees has the temperature risen? Use a number line to justify your answer. Okay, so to start out, I'm gonna put 0 here to help me. And so at 6 a.m. it was 7 degrees below 0. So -1, 2, -3, -4. Put on a little bit. Oop. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm just going to make it longer on the other side since we're going up to 20. All right. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All right. So my first is -7, so that's all over here. So I'm going to make a dot there. That's where we started. And then by noon, the temperature was at 20 degrees, and that's all the way on the right side. Right, so I'm going to put -7 just for reference and 20 for my references. All right. So I'm going to count along, and we're going to see how much it has risen. So we're starting at -7, and we're going to go to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27. So we have 27. So it goes 27 degrees. All right. And number 16, so we're going to write the correct symbol on the line using less than, greater than, or equal to. So the absolute value of 9 is that less than, greater than, or equal to absolute value of -17. Well, we know that that's going to be a 9, and that's going to be a 17. And 17 is the bigger number, so 9 is going to be less than 17. Number 17, 5/4. Is that less than, greater than, or equal to the absolute value of 4/5? We know that 5/4 is just going to be 5/4, and this one's going to be 4/5. We know that 5/4 is a bigger number, so therefore number 17 is greater than. And number 18, absolute value of -10. Is that less than, greater than, or equal to the absolute value of 10? Well, we know once we do that, that -10 is going to get +10, and that will also be a +10, so therefore this one is going to be equal to. And number 19, what is the absolute value of the point? Well, we know right here is a 0, so it's 0. We know over here is a 2. So I had it bigger for my reference. And so we know that this point in between 0 and 2 is going to be 1. So now I need to know the point between 0 and 1, and it looks like it's half. So therefore it's half. Alrighty. And number 20. Numbers A and B on the number line. Is it always, sometimes, or never true that the distance from A and B equals the distance between absolute value of A and absolute value of B? And explain your reasoning. So I put, if A and B are positive or both negative, the distance is the same. But if one number is positive and the other number is negative, then the distance is not the same. For example, if A equals +4 and B equals +1, then the distance is 3. And another example, if A is +4 and B is -1, then the distance between them both is 5 units. So therefore, in this case, with the negative number, it is sometimes true.